Thank you. All right. So please stand next to the trophy, gentlemen. We'll do a quick photo op, still photography. Stills. Bonjour à tous, hello everyone, welcome to the 109 Breakup Competing Head Coach Athlete Conference. I'm Olivier Poulain, Senior Director of Communications and Public Affairs at the CFL. Bienvenue à la conférence de presse des entraîneurs-chefs de la 109e Coupe Grey. We're joined today by Head Coach Ryan Dinwiddie of the East Division Champions Toronto Argonauts and Head Coach Mike O'Shea of the West Division Champions Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There won't be any opening remarks this morning. We're going to go straight to question. On va passer immédiatement à la période de questions. If you do have a question, please raise your hand so I add you to the list. When your time comes, please use the microphone that my colleague Guillaume or Herb will provide to you. Getting bad audio? Is it gone? We're good? Mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. You're good? All right. Sorry for that. Is it back? Got a high pitch.
Sorry, one second. Yeah, we're just getting interference here. One sec.
How's it going, Dan? Very good, thank you. Shouldn't have admitted that. Should not have admitted that.
Can we get a quick mic check from the Winnipeg coach, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you, sir. And check from the Chronicles, please, sir.
I don't have a microphone right now. They take it from me.
They're changing the pack. Yeah.
You can talk loud though.
Well, got a replacement.
1 2 3 4. You good?
Gonna give it a try again.
1 2 3 4.
There's different background noise that we're getting that's over top of the voice.
Oh, is that someone's wireless? Give him a hardwire, guys. Don't take it around. Yeah, you guys
1 2 3 4.
Oh. All right. Where was I? No opening remarks. We'll go to questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. I'll hand you the list. You ask your question. Introduce yourself. Indicate who should be answering the question because we've got two guys up front. And that's it. So I'm going to move here. And I think Murray McCormick wants to be the first one to ask a question this morning. Well, yeah, well, I saw your hand, so. Murray, please go ahead. Guillaume, if you don't mind, to Murray. Thank you.
Murray McCormick, Regina Leader Polls. This one's for Ryan. You've played all around the league quite a bit. Now you're coaching in Toronto. How did you describe life as coaching in Toronto compared to other places you've been?
Well, I think, we had our challenges, going into it. And there's a lot of different things we got to do as far as travel and different deals as far as moving around. But, our ownership at MLSE has done a great job to make us comfortable as we can be there. So, I never thought I'd be in Toronto. You never know where you're going to be. It could be, one day you're a certain place, the next day you're a certain place. So I really enjoyed it. And, I was enjoying my time in Calgary, getting out west, getting closer to home. But, moving to Toronto feels like home now. And my family and myself, we live there year round. Pinball's made it, very comfortable for me. And, we really want to turn that franchise around and make it a consistent winner each year. You're always going to be playing the Grey Cup? You never know that. But you just want to be in the playoffs, give you a chance to compete for a Grey Cup. That's what our goal is there.
This is just for both of you, my last one. How much has an impact of being a player had on your being as a head coach? Do you carry over from that sort of world?
Well, I think, you hear certain people say, hey, the grass ain't too far removed from the cleats. I don't think playing and coaching's very similar. I think coaching's a lot different. The fact that you have that background, you can relate to the players a little bit, understand some of the circumstances that they're dealing with. But I think if you see yourself kind of in that player mindset as a coach, you're not doing the right things. But I do think you can relate to the players and go back to your background, some of the experiences that you dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an element of understanding what the players are going through. I mean, it allows you as a leader to be more empathetic to their situations, but none of these players have any, there'd be no reference point to my career or Ryan's probably, right? They're so far removed from that, they're not really paying attention to that.
Next one will be John. Go ahead.
John Hodge, 3 Down Nation. Thanks for doing this, gentlemen. My question's for Ryan. Given your history in 2007, you're kind of uniquely qualified to comment on what happens when a veteran quarterback gets hurt in a division final. I'm curious, what was your reaction to watching Zach get hurt at the end of the West Final?
Well, I seen he got rolled up on, and just knowing how competitive Zach is, how tough he is mentally and physically, I knew he'd be, physically available on Sunday. He's going to play. There's no question about it. But, going on to, I guess my history with that in 2007, right? Yeah, I mean, I think I gave us a chance to win the game at the end, just didn't make the right plays, right? And then we had opportunity for it. It's unfortunate we couldn't bring a Grey Cup, back to Winnipeg. I really want to be one of the first guys to do it. Unfortunately, Mike was the guy to get that done. So I know there's some people that were disappointed with that performance, but I just was excited for the moment. And you want to play in big games. That's what you look forward to as a competitor. And I was, really excited. Thought we had opportunity.
This is kind of a follow-up, I suppose, to a little bit to Murray's question. Have you shared that story with your players at all? It is a very unique story, given the way you kind of entered the league. Yeah,
it's funny you bring that up. I don't really, talk much about my playing days with our guys. Occasionally in a conversation side to side with certain players, but I don't address the team with those stories. It's just that was a long time ago, right? And now I'm a coach, not a player, but it just always gets brought up, in the media still, which is unique in itself. But I'm just worried about being the best head coach I can be for the Toronto Argonauts.
Next up will be G.C. Habit, followed by Donna Spencer, Paul Friesen, Ted Wyman. I think Dan just waved at me, and Jeff Hamilton. G.C., please go ahead.
J.C. Abbott, 3 Down Nation. This is for Mike. It's been reported that you're in the final year of your contract. Is there any doubt about your future in Winnipeg after this game?
No, if you look at the history, I always play out my contracts and figure it out at the end of the year.
I wonder, why is it that you feel comfortable doing that when that's so atypical in the coaching profession?
I don't know. Just believe in the organization and believe in myself and the team around you, It's not hard to do.
All right, we'll go to Donna. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Spencer, Canadian Press. This question is for Mike. You know, before Zach Collaros became a Blue Bomber, he didn't have a ton of traction as a CFL quarterback. Can you just describe how he's defined or redefined himself as a CFL quarterback during his time as a Blue Bomber?
Well, he's the best quarterback in the league. He's a tremendous leader, tremendous competitor. I would disagree with the traction statement. I mean, I was around Toronto when he was a rookie, and you know, very early on, you understood his leadership capabilities, his magnetism. Players were drawn to him, even though he was serving in a backup role. He got thrust into a starting position and won a bunch of games very early on in his career. Went to Hamilton, was very successful. There might be a lull in his career, like a lot of professional athletes maybe face, depending on the situation they're in. And now he's in a situation where he's got a very good supporting cast, and that's the Zach the people that have been around him have always known, right? I don't think, I guess the story writes as it's a resurgence, but he'll never not be that leader, and he'll never not be that competitor. And if he's in certain situations, he'll always be the best quarterback in the league, right? So he's certainly fun to be around every single day. You know, he comes into that room and attacks the day like a pro should.
Just wondering how well you guys over here, how well you guys know each other. What's your history, if there is any?
Well, I got to play against Mike, you know, when I was in Winnipeg. He was in Toronto, and, you know, the veteran group that they had over there. And, you know, I got to understand how, you know, Mike approaches things. He's a, you know, smart player, physical player, great leader. You can see it on the defensive side. We talk at coach meetings from time to time. I've sent him a few texts. He sent me a few. Just, we've got a lot of respect for him. And what they've done in Winnipeg. I think, you know, years prior, Calgary was kind of the model everybody wanted to follow, and I think now it's Winnipeg. And Calgary's still a great organization as well, right? They're in the playoffs every year. But I think, you know, the chance to play in 3 Grey Cups in a row hasn't happened since, you know, the Warren Moon days. I mean, that's pretty impressive this day and age.
Mike, you remember chasing him down, or what's your interaction?
Oh, I was not chasing anybody at that point. I'm sure the coaches want to be on the bench, but that's a long time ago. You know, I think there's, because there's 9 teams and there's 9 head coaches, there's, you know, a chance to lean on guys and communicate with them, and it's very professional, and when you need something, you don't hesitate to ask. And I think that's not just with Ryan, but with the other head coaches in the league. There's always open communication, even though we're competing against each other in the off season, especially when we get together in rules committee and the various things that you'd have to deal with the CFL on. You know, it's important that we stick together and come up with great ideas to make sure this league provides entertaining football going forward.
And when you watch each other's teams now, whether it's on film or live, is there something that tells you, oh, that head coach is into detail? Do you see something that shows that to you?
Well, I would say they are. I mean, they don't have a lot of penalties, right? All 3 phases play, you know, good football. Now, do they have to have the craziest schemes in the world to survive? No. They play together, and you can see that, I know it, even though I'm not in the building, that they're process-driven, and they're all, you know, pushing each other to do the best. And I've learned a lot of that from Andrew, you know, asking him about what it's like over there. So, yeah, I mean, they've got it figured out as a club, and you can see, you know, the coaches, you know, you kind of put the expectations out there, but that locker room is what makes it so special. You can see that. So we know what we got on Sunday.
And Mike, is there a Ryan Dinwiddie stamp on the Argos?
Yeah, absolutely. They are. Is a fiery competitor, and his team is too. And the details question is interesting. You don't get to this point, you don't get to the final game unless you're coaching details, both sides. Yeah.
We'll go to Ted Wyman.
Ted Wyman, Winnipeg Sun. Mike and Ryan, I hope you both could answer this question. Mike, you first. I was hoping you both could comment on your overall feelings about your time with the other organization. Mike, obviously, you spent a long time with the Argos. What do the Argos mean to you?
Well, it's a lot of history. It's you know, Ted, it's really about the guys you played with, because a lot of the organization has changed, right, from ownership to the people involved. There's still guys in there like Pinball and Danny Webb that, you know, I have a huge history with. And you care about those guys, and you'll never stop caring about those people because you share so many good memories with them, and tough memories too sometimes. But, you know, organizationally, once again, the whole organization has changed quite a bit, and I think you will always have a certain amount of loyalty and fondness towards the people you were with that are still there, whether that organization or the shell of the organization has changed.
And Ryan, if you don't mind commenting on
Yeah,
your
very similar. You know, I spent 3 years in Winnipeg. You know, we got to the playoffs all 3 years. It was a fun 3 years. A lot of good friends that I met there that we still talk. And I mean, I got a text from Kevin Glenn a few days ago, excited about it. You know, he works with our third string quarterback Ben Holmes, so we're in constant communication. Even outside that, we talk quite a bit. So. Yeah, and then you look at Brad Foddy and some of the folks that still work in the front office and the ticket office and all that. I mean, a lot of good people I met in Winnipeg. Outside the organization as well, a lot of friends there. So fond memories there. You know, I just thought it was unique. You know, I get done there. I always thought I'd be back at some stage. It didn't end up happening, but you never know down the line. I plan on doing this till I'm 70. So I still have a lot of memories there and a lot of good friends.
We'll go to Dan Ralph, Jeff Hamilton, Taylor up front, and then Justin Dunk. Dan, please go ahead.
Dan Ralph from the Canadian Press. This is a question for both of you, and I'll start with Mike, if I may.
How you doing, Dan?
I'm very good, thank you. How much does Grey Cup experience as a player and as a coach play on the field on Sunday?
Well, the team changes every year, so it's up to the core group of guys that have been here before to help along the young guys. I think the answer's pretty easy, and it's off the field stuff. It's managing your time and making sure you get back to your process, making sure you carve out enough time to step back from the busyness of this week and get back into football and get your focus straight. So with the group of guys we have, I think it'll be done fairly well, and I think that's where it can really help.
How about you, Brian?
Yeah, I think, just from my experience, the one time I played in the game was just, all this stuff that was there, right? I mean, I ate room service the whole week. I couldn't even make the team meals. So I just make it important to the guys to understand, there's going to be a lot of distractions. Don't let it distract us. Let's not lose sight of what the whole goal is to win a game on Sunday. And that's what we're here for, right? So, yeah, we're here to entertain, and we have obligations and all that stuff. But, like Mike was saying, curfew, different things, we're not here to go out. Next week, your season's over with, and you're lucky to be playing in the last game. This is our last game. Win or lose, it's our last game, which is, it's tough to think about that sometimes. So I just think our guys are focused on that. Last week together, let's stick together and find ways to get this thing done. And, let's do our best this week to make sure we put ourselves in a position to win a football game on Sunday.
Hey guys, Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. Question for both of you. You both coached, successful teams. You finished first in your division the last couple of years. I'm wondering if you could give me the one most important thing to you that makes a good team. Maybe Mike, you can start.
I got to start, I think the word's in your answer. It's team. They've got to figure out from training camp through to this point, they've got to figure out how to become a team. Without that, it's going to be hard to keep winning.
Yeah, very similar. I think it's the locker room. I think those guys got to police themselves. They got to hold each other accountable. I think it's infectious when you get around certain leaders that do certain things. As far as preparation and how they take care of their body, how they mentally approach the game. Their whole process with it. And the more quality people you have in that locker room with great leadership, that's when your football club comes together. So, we've had our moments this year where early on I didn't feel like we were there yet, but I think we're getting there. And that's the main thing. Those guys have really took the next step and became true pros and really enjoying each other each day and pushing each other. But those locker room, relationships, right? That kind of leads to your success. Now, you got your X's and O's, and you got to go execute. But without that, you're never going to win.
Ryan, this one's for you. I'm wondering, you kind of hinted at it or mentioned Andrew Harris, obviously, on your team, and everyone in Winnipeg knows how important he was to the Bombers' runs. I'm wondering what exactly he brought to this, to your organization this year, and what you learned from him, as you mentioned, a lot of the stuff you brought from Winnipeg over.
Yeah, I mean, we brought a big resume, right, and a legacy he's already established. And, not a lot of guys in our locker room are even close to that, type of legacy. But there's a reason why he has that, reputation and that legacy. And I knew it before I even got a chance to talk to him, just from what I've heard, from other people. He's a great person, infectious leader, never stops, wants to win more than anything. It's not about him, which is great, because I think you have to be selfless to be a leader. So he's brought that to our locker room, and the experience, right? He's won 2 Grey Cups in a row, and he's been through it, and he understands what it takes, to win a Grey Cup. And so I think, his voice, some of our guys that aren't as mature as him, has gone a long ways for us.
Taylor Allen, Winnipeg Free Press. Question for Mike. I was wondering, do you happen to remember your first game with the Argos and what the deal was with your jersey, why it wasn't ready in time and they have to tape on your numbers and name, I believe?
Yeah, I don't remember all the details surrounding it, but and probably only because you see it on video. They show it once in a while. Danny Webb standing behind me with a towel trying to keep the camera guy off the back of the jersey. But, Danny's a pro, and I'm sure something happened out of his control that ended up with that result. No big deal. I mean, who really cares? If you're a player, right? You just want to be out there playing. If somebody gave you a jersey with no name and no number, it wouldn't stop you from going out there and playing, right?
All right, we'll go to Justin Dung, followed by Jamie Nye. We still have a few minutes for questions, so I'll put in not the last call, but the next to last call.
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for doing this. Justin Dung, 3 Down Nation and Sportsnet. Mike, don't tackle me for this, but you've been through this a couple of times where your contract is expiring. I'm wondering if that's how you prefer it and you thrive in it, or would you rather have a longer-term deal like we've seen in the NFL, 5 or 10 years? I'm kind of curious your mentality behind it.
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, to tell you the truth. If I'm asking our players to stay in the moment and stay focused on that very important task at hand, I don't waste a lot of time during the season worrying about after the season, right? We can fix that or figure it out after. But I imagine some people would think it's short-sighted, but I've also always believed that, contracts are really about what you're going to do going forward. It's not about what you did in the past. So let's, once again, judging by my answer, you can tell I don't even put a lot of thought into that.
Thanks for giving one. Ryan, I'm curious, can you put yourself in that situation? If you were a guy that had won 2 Grey Cups and you were in the expiring year of your contract, would you rather have a longer-term deal, or what do you think it would be like?
Well, I think you're comfortable with with what you've done, right? And I'm sure I'm not in their organization. I don't know the situation with Mike, but I'm sure Mike feels really good about where he's at in management, and they have great relationships, and it's going to be a done deal at some stage. But I think sometimes you got to do those things to get a little bit of leverage. I'm not saying that's what Mike's doing, but sometimes you're going to play out your contract, and then let's see. It's no different than the player, right? He wants to play out his contract. Coaches play out their contracts. Me personally, being a young coach, I want to have a few years left because I'm not as established as Mike. So, I think, I don't have a true answer for it. I think each individual is different, and each situation is different in circumstances. That's all I got.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Jamie Nye?
Jamie Nye from C. Jamie Radio in Regina. In the back, Mike Richie Hall, of course, is a legend around these parts.
In our building, too.
Oh, what have you seen from Richie as a guy who's been in this league for a long time with a lot of success, but continues to be able to develop a rapport with a younger generational player?
Yeah, it's quite easy for him. He is the ultimate authentic coach, right? He does not apologize for anything in terms of the way he is. He's first and foremost a great man, a great human being. I enjoy every single day interacting with him, just popping into his office and sitting down and just shooting the breeze about life in general, not just football. And his players, the players, not even just the defensive players, but the entire team sees just an authentically, a genuinely kind-hearted, good man, which can sometimes be difficult in this profession, to remain so kind and good-natured, right? Besides being, having, I don't know, 35, I don't know how many years he's got, but he's got all that experience. He's very smart. He's got great recall on defensive systems and how offenses attack. As a leader with his staff, he absolutely welcomes all input from every one of his staff. He's not a control guy. He wants his staff members to have great input on game planning. He's just great to work with. Love the man.
Going back to 2012 and that staff, I think 5 head coaches, Scott, Jason, yourself, Chris, Orlando, all came from that staff. What did you learn from how to balance personalities within a coaching staff to have all go in one direction?
Well, I think Scott did a great job that year. When you mention all those guys, they are all, different personalities, and I would say, some of us are stronger personalities than the others, but we all managed to fit and make it work, and I think that's a real credit to Scott's leadership, right? He made sure it was working well. So yeah, it was you look back, that was a pretty fun staff to be on. I mean, we won, which is important, but going to work every day was pretty neat too.
Next lineup, Farhan Lalji, Adam Hunter, Jeff Hamilton, GC Habit, and Paul Friesen. Chances are that's probably going to be it. So Farhan, please go ahead.
Back here, Farhan Lalji, TSN. Mike, we'll start with you. Andrew made no bones about the fact after the game on Sunday that it's personal for him, and he's kind of always been that guy with a chip on his shoulder. That works for him. Can you take us through the decision to move in another direction and how difficult that was for you?
I think we've already covered that. I can talk about how difficult it is because on a personal level, it's always difficult. I mean, this is pro football, and decisions are made, and transitions happen, and the team is different every single year. That doesn't mean that as a head coach, you stop caring about the person that you've been around for a long time. Andrew was a great leader on our team. Besides being a great player, I mean, one of the best all time in the history of the CFL. But once again, that decision was made. It is pro football, and the concern always then goes right to the actual person behind the athlete, right?
And for you, Ryan, you've had some fiery exchanges this season with McLeod on the sideline, and that happens. He's a competitor, but can you take us through your relationship with him as a former quarterback as well?
Yeah, I think we get along well. When I took the job there, I felt like we could win with him. And I think he needed that confidence instilled in him, and we believe in him. And we got to do our best job as coaches to put him in an opportunity to succeed. And I think we've done that for the most part. Yeah, you're going to have those moments on the sideline. Now, should it happen all the time? No. Or is it excusable? Some of it? No, it's not. But at the same time, you got to still keep an even keel and understand you're going to have some of those moments. But then at the end of the day, we got to come together and find a way to win this game. So, I mean, last week he wanted a challenge, and he was upset about it. To be honest with you, I felt like I had earphones on, man. I wasn't even listening to him. So I was like, whatever. What we got to do? What is our next play? So those happen. It's great that he wants to win. That's most importantly. Could he handle himself better last week? Yes, he could have. He knows that. Being the leader of the team, right, with potential fragile sideline and things aren't going our way, is that going to be conducive to us winning? So he understands that. I'm sure he won't have that happen this Sunday.
Adam Hunter, CBC News. For Mike, your team has won the inaugural game at the new stadium. You won 2 playoff games there. You obviously are expecting a big Bombers crowd to travel over. What's been the difference in winning here, and what do you think about having that crowd, a lot of crowd support behind you on Sunday?
Well, we're hopeful that our fans travel. They do travel very well. They are very passionate, and they're loud wherever they arrive. It's a short trip, right? A 5.5 hour drive. So we hope we get them. In terms of winning at Mosaic, honestly, I don't. I know that we talk about our fan base at home, and it makes it difficult on other teams. So you'd think I'd say the same thing about other stadiums, but I don't know that we ever talk about being on the road and being in a hostile environment except for maybe Labor Day, where you've got to practice some different snap counts. Other than that, we don't really treat it differently, so I wouldn't look at success at Mosaic as anything other than we had a good week of preparation and we plan to be successful wherever we're playing, be it a stadium, a parking lot, the backyard.
And for Ryan, there'll be a lot of fans that bought tickets hoping that the Rough Riders would be in the game that aren't Bomber fans, obviously. Are you hoping that some of those Rider fans are Argo fans for the weekend? And how can you maybe combat that Bomber fan invasion that may be coming to Saskatchewan?
Yeah, I'm hoping that, a lot of the local fans around here aren't selling their tickets to, everybody in Winnipeg. And we understand that's probably going to be the case. There's going to have to be silent cadence, potentially, right? We got to practice that. But yeah, I mean, you would hope that the Regina fans, you would know that if they go to the game, they're going to potentially be rooting for us. So, there's a lot of that stuff that's for media. For us as a football club, you never know what you're going to see. Let's prepare for crowd noise, do what we need to do, but we don't get caught up too much in that.
Both of you guys obviously played in this league. You decided to stay on and coach, move your way up the ranks, become head coaches here. I think it's safe to assume both of you love the CFL. There's been a lot of chat over the years about changing the game, about trying to make it more appealing to other people, bringing in new audiences. I'm wondering, maybe it's a simple question, maybe it's not, but I'm wondering what each of you love the most about this league.
Well, I would say, these guys come up here and play football, right, and don't make a ton of money. And they're doing it for the right reasons. They still want to play football, regardless of what age they are. And you build some tight bonds up here. Not a lot of guys can bring their families, up north during the season, and a lot of coaches can't bring their families up north throughout the season. Or if you're Canadian, you can't move out where your job is, and your wife's stuck in the other parts of Canada. That's the unique part about it. So you build some special bonds. A lot of rich history in this league. Didn't know much about it until I was a young kid. I went to the Sacramento CFL games when I was there, and that's when I got my first taste of it, and then didn't hear much about it until, after I got cut by the Bears, and, my agent got a phone call about, coming up north, and I was fired up about it once I got there. It was great. So you build a lot of great bonds here, a lot of history. Proud to be a part of the league.
Jeff, me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Canadiana, the rules. I mean, I love the rules of our game. I think it's a fast-paced, very interesting game. Homegrown talent. The Americans that come up here, as Ryan said, they learn to love it. They learn to really love our country. They're passionate about our game. It doesn't happen overnight, but, relatively quickly, these guys that come into our country fall in love with it, the game and our country. I think it's a great showcase for that. I would say there's nothing about it I don't love.
JC Abbott, 3 Down Nation. It's often said that the best coaches steal from one another. Ryan, when you took over this job, Mike had just won his first Grey Cup. I'm wondering if there was any lessons you learned from watching him in that job and his success that you tried to implement when building your own team?
Well, I think you take a lot from anybody you can learn from, right? And to make yourself better. I got to give Coach Huff and Coach Dave a lot of credit. Learned a lot from them in Calgary. Got to see what Mike got done in Winnipeg over there. And did he do it overnight? No, but look what he's built is the factory over there. So you always want to have that type of organization, right? So you look at that model, how they built it, how they've done it. How Mike treats his players, how he talks to them, communicates to them. You look at that and you want to build that yourself. And we're playing in this game, so I think we've made some positive strides as an organization over the last few years. Last year we came up just short to play in this game, so I think we're moving in the right direction. You want to build that model that can sustain success for a long time.
And Mike, I wonder, have you seen things from Ryan and his staff in the last 2 years that you've tried to implement with you and your staff?
I would say I don't spend a lot of time studying other staffs. Obviously, any interaction you have with coaches throughout the years, from when you're playing on the way through up when you're coaching on other staffs, has the potential to leave an imprint on you, but ultimately, you can only be who you are, right? If you try to, I'm never going to be pinball. Never, right? And if I tried, it would not work. So once again, as I spoke about Richie, authenticity is paramount, right? So I don't know that we have enough time in a day to study what other organizations and other staffs are doing, as much as really just looking in-house and figuring out how you can make your place better.
Paul?
Mike, contract aside, is it fair to say your commitment to the Bombers does not go beyond this season?
Can you rephrase that so I can understand it? I'm from North Bay, man.
Yeah, okay. Never mind your contract status.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that?
I love the Bombers. I love the city.
I understand that.
Yeah,
Are you committed to them beyond this season?
absolutely.
All right.
Okay. And one last. Do you also plan to coach till you're 70?
No, I don't know. I'm not going to see 70.
All right, thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at practice in about an hour's time. Thank you.